Welcome, and thank you for joining us for this conversation with the three co-leaders of Spain and Morocco at the Crossroads of Human Migration. I'm very pleased to be joined by Dr. Amy Gooden, a professor and a specialist in education, and particularly bilingual education, and also Antonio Gutierrez from CELE, and also Tachuo Yves Cesar, and he is a filmmaker and is currently living in Morocco and is working with migrants and as a migrant himself. So welcome everyone, and I'm so glad to have a chance to kind of speak to you about the course today. So first of all, a lot is going on in the world right now, and I would like to know, how are each of you holding up in this time of uncertainty? So Cesar, how are you doing?
Yes, je fais dans la réalisation des films documentaires. J'écris aussi des livres sur la migration. Et il y a de cela quelques temps, avant que le Covid-19 n'arrive, j'étais animateur dans un centre socioculturel à Rabat. Et maintenant, je suis en train de faire un petit job dans une société privée, en fait. Ouais, en attendant la situation, en fait. Mais aussi, par contre, les autres personnes migrantes qui sont dans la même situation que moi, généralement, nous passons inaperçus face à ce fléau. Et c'est-à-dire, vu du côté du migrant, comme un malade qui n'a pas les moyens de payer les frais de la santé. Et voilà, a l'habitude de sortir le matin pour aller demander la charité, et d'autres qui partent faire des petits travaux dans des chantiers. C'est la routine comme ça et tous les jours. Donc, c'est ça en fait, pour le moment.
And Antonio, how are you?
Well, we're doing actually pretty great. Granada is a beautiful city to be locked in, if we have to be locked in. And this has been times of uncertainties, times of fear. We all have families and loved ones who have either been around or had a scare or passed COVID. But I believe it's also a time of opportunity, and it's given us the time that we've never had before to build up and renew ourselves and create more beautiful things.
Amy?
Yes, thanks for the question, Kelly. I think, like everyone else, day by day. These are challenging times, I think times that are exacerbating in many ways the disproportionate gap between the so-called haves and the have-nots. But at the same time, there are times that are urging us to apply in real time the 21st century skills like adaptability, creativity, and collaboration, especially in higher ed, so that we can create learning experiences that equip all students for the 21st century interconnected world that we find ourselves in. And so that's what gets me up every morning, thinking about ways to address issues in these challenging times.
So Dr. Amy, to follow up on that a little bit, how does this course fit into the current and future academic environment, considering the current pandemic?
That's an excellent question. I think in some ways we're unable to travel, and yet we need the opportunity to be able to communicate more than ever across cultural and linguistic borders. And so I think that, or boundaries, I think that this course provides students with the opportunity to communicate with people from other parts of the world so that they are able to broaden their global perspectives. It's unique because it's transdisciplinary, in the sense that they're looking at this core issue of human migration from multiple theoretical lenses, but then thinking about practical implementations. And so it's very authentic and lends to a broader perspective. It is relevant because it ties into the DEI, or social justice goals and outcomes that higher ed institutions are hoping to achieve for all learners. And so there are many more reasons, which I'll discuss, but I think overall we need to think about this worldwide crisis and how the pandemic is urging us to become more connected, even though we are feeling more disconnected.
Thank you for that context. Antonio, can you tell us a little bit more about this course and how CELE is reinventing itself considering these new challenges?
Yes, Kelly, of course. It was, I guess, like for everyone, it was a time where it was, like Amy said, a time of uncertainty, and no one really knew what was going on. It was a breakup with routine for, I think, everyone in the world. And the team and I got together, and we realized that somehow the challenges we thought the world and our generation was going to be facing were so different from what we thought they were 10 years ago. And we realized that it is a very fast moving world, and a very connected world, and a world with a new, a lot of new opportunities that come with technology, but a lot of new threats that come out of the whole system and the technologies themselves. So we decided that we wanted to make a shift to our programs and try to run along the lines of a regenerative culture. We realized that we wanted to teach and learn on subjects like social justice and natural restoration, critical thinking. We wanted to deepen on cultural and intercultural implications to peoples and societies. And so it kind of became, we found our why, and we started talking to people and sharing this beautiful new project. And lots of professionals from all over the world. Just in here, you're seeing US, in Amy and Kelly and Cesar in Morocco. People started gathering, people who wanted to do this, people who were passionate about education. And somehow we, like I said before, we had the time to produce, to design, to discuss, and to improve our methodologies and our message. And so this first program was born. It's the first time we do something like this online. It's an adaptation of a program that took you physically from Spain to Morocco to be able to see those differences and hear those voices and those testimonies from both sides of the border. And we are really, really excited to be able to do it. In this adaptation allowed Cesar to join us for the whole process instead of just joining us in Morocco. And I think it's going to be a great way to show, discuss, and reflect about an issue that today it's a worldwide problem.
Yeah, thank you. And even just being able to have this panel today with everyone on different continents is an amazing adaptation. So, Dr. Amy, I was wondering, could you explain a little bit more about how this course is different and why a student should take an opportunity to participate in it?
Absolutely. I think this course is different because it takes students right into an authentic perspective. It's really running along the lines of experiential learning. So even though it's in a virtual context, we've designed it in such a blended and innovative way that they will be able to travel to 2 continents from the comfort of their home and really get to experience the current migration crisis in Spain and Morocco, Morocco and explore the convergences and divergences of cultures, both historically and in the contemporary context. I think the blend of having panel discussions with NGOs and social service agencies working on the ground with migrants, having migrant officials, university professors from Spain and Morocco and the US, all offering students a multiple perspective, a multi-layered perspective on the issue is quite attractive. I think secondly, the cross-cultural competence opportunities, building opportunities that exist through our global conversation partners. Students will be matched with university counterparts or colleagues in both Spain and Morocco to again explore deeply these issues. I think there is a really unique tailored aspect to this course, so no matter what the student's discipline is, in the end, we're going to have them investigate in an ethnographic research project, an action-based research project, an aspect of migration from their disciplinary lens. And they'll be able to apply this research to actually give back to the community from which we're learning. So this really decolonizes in some ways the study abroad experience in its approach, which historically takes from, but we want to help students to use their research to give back in that way. And so I think the tailored approach and the fact that they'll be getting exposure to a global network to help them conduct this applied research to really lead to transformative action is quite attractive. And finally, I'll end with two last points. The virtual field trips to historic and cultural sites of interest in some of the most beautiful areas of the Mediterranean and some of the most important but hidden historical sites that speak the truth about the influences of North Africa on Southern Europe and vice versa. And finally, we are all, especially in the context of the US, very concerned with issues of diversity and equity and inclusion. And without screaming it from the rooftops, but organically and naturally and inherently in the design of the course, students are going to really confront issues of exclusion and inclusion of sub-Saharan migrants in this part of the world. And hopefully it will help us to better understand from an emic or inside perspective. So unlike most courses that sort of provide the theoretical lens, let's say from an anthropological perspective, but it's always from the outside perspective. This gives you an inside perspective or an emic perspective of the local situation. And it ties deeply, as I said, to issues of inclusion and exclusion of migrants, and hopefully epistemologically we'll be able to reflect more deeply through reflection and practice and dialogue and didactic experiences on our own border issues. And so these are just a few of the reasons why I think students would be interested in taking this course, as it's quite unique from any other offering we've produced.
Thank you, Amy. I'm wondering, you mentioned a little bit about migration kind of being a worldwide issue, considering how this course relates to the United States. Could you speak a little bit more about kind of the global issues that this course speaks to?
Sure. We know, according to many statistics, that actually over nearly 80 million people have had to flee their homes just in contemporary context. So this course takes students on that journey, we're all on a journey. This course, though, is an intellectual and an intercultural odyssey that allows us to listen to the testimonies of our colleagues and of migrants on that side of the world who are grappling with the particular journey and understanding aspects of policies, aspects of acculturation, aspects of intercultural learning in the classroom context, what support services are out there. So thinking very specifically from a broad lens about the complexity of this worldwide crisis, this crisis of humanity.
Thank you. Cesar, I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit about why it's important for current and future students to have intercultural experiences?
Repeat, please.
Why should people learn about other cultures?
I speak in French.
Yes.
Ok. Pour l'interculturalité. D'accord. L'interculturalité mettrait un accent très fort dans le social, c'est-à-dire faire des échanges culturels avec des personnes venant de différents pays du globe. C'est connaître le monde en un laps de temps, des différentes cultures, et ça permettrait aux gens de communiquer mieux facilement, de découvrir en fait le monde. C'est un peu ça, quoi. Parce que ça, c'est grosso modo. S'il faut entrer dans le détail, ça serait beaucoup vraiment long. Et je ne sais pas s'il y en aura le temps pour parler de ça aujourd'hui.
On aura le temps, mon frère.
Hein?
On aura le temps à futur, à l'écoute.
On a le temps?
Non maintenant, mais à l'écoute.
D'accord, d'accord.
So to finish,
d'accord.
So to finish, I'm wondering, how do you believe education will continue to adapt to 21st century technology? So to all of you, how will education continue to use these technologies to create experiences that are better and better for students? Antonio, do you have any thoughts?
Yes, I believe technologies is like an incredible double-edged sword. I believe that the potential for us to interconnect and to get to know and to experience firsthand what other people are living, what other people have to teach us, what other people have to learn from us. It can be an incredible tool. It can be an incredible tool to put in practice so many projects and to reach and increase impact for educators worldwide. On the other hand, we need to be very careful with it. And this is why, as Amy was saying before, we've done so many efforts to try to make this course as experiential and as hands-on, and trying to do field-based projects and try to make it as human as possible, because it's also a little dangerous to just standardize certain degree of knowledge and just push it out and remove that human component of education, the transmission and the recipients of that information, that knowledge, and that thinking. So I think we should take advantage of it without forgetting the kind of tool we have in our hands.
Thank you. Yes, it's very important. Dr. Amy or Cesar, do you have anything to add before we finish?
I would just like to agree with my colleague Antonio and say that it is a double-edged sword. We have to consider issues of access, right? And how not everyone has access to these technologies, thereby widening this gap between the so-called haves and the have-nots. Also, as Antonio mentioned, there's a risk that is run in terms of providing pre-packaged, decontextualized, and depersonalized learning experiences. And that is exactly why during this challenging time, we were able to collectively assemble a team and think creatively and outside of the box in terms of how we can still maintain the principles of our pedagogy, which is constructivist in nature and fosters community, while at the same time adapting to the virtual context. And we believe that the curriculum is a harmonious blend then of IT and experiential and constructivist approaches to learning.
Thank you. So I wanted to again say thank you so much to all of you for joining. Being a part of this conversation has given me a sense of how the course will incorporate different perspectives and be able to really cross those borders while we are still at home. And so I look forward to the course and to the intercultural learning experience. So again, thank you all.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shukran, gracias y merci.